In the village of Ndiabo, the family of young Obialor was bound together by the quiet strength of his widowed mother, Mama Nkechi. Life had been unforgiving to her since the loss of her husband, but she refused to let the weight of hardship break her spirit. Determined to give her children a better future, she turned to the land for survival, working tirelessly on small-scale farms. During the rainy season, she planted rice, braving knee-deep mud in the paddies, bent over for hours under the scorching sun. When the harvest came, she would carefully dry the grains, taking the sacks to the nearby town market on market days to sell her produce. The dry season brought a new set of challenges. Mama Nkechi would gather the fallen palm nuts, pressing them to make small quantities of palm oil she could sell. She often spent nights by the flickering flame of her oil lamp, carefully peeling, boiling, and pressing the nuts. Her hands bore the cuts and calluses of countless hours of work, but each bottle of oil she sold meant another week's food, another school book for her children. She grew cassava, too, grinding it into flour and selling it at the village market. And though the income was meager, she stretched every coin with careful calculation, managing to put a small meal on the table each night. In the middle of these struggles, Obialor grew up with a fire for learning. Each morning, he left the little house with his notebook in hand, making the long walk to school with his head high. He was a top student, known for his sharp mind and relentless curiosity. Mama Nkechi often reminded him, "Your education is our only hope, Obialor. Never let go of it." Her words kept him motivated even as he witnessed her exhausting work. When he graduated from secondary school, his heart brimmed with ambition, but reality soon set in. There was no money for university. Mama Nkechi's earnings could barely cover the family's daily needs, let alone tuition. Yet, unwilling to give up, Obialor found a way to continue his education. He moved to the city to live with his elder sister, working as a teacher in a private secondary school. But the salary was barely enough for survival, and he knew he needed another path if he was to save for his dreams. A cousin offered him work in the tailoring trade, where Obialor eagerly learned to sew, hoping the skill might lead to something more substantial. However, the country's economic downturn struck hard, causing the business to collapse after 2 years, leaving him back at square one. Left with no other option, Obialor took to hawking clothes, walking from city to city with bundles of garments on his head, selling to anyone who would buy. Despite the exhausting work, his mind stayed focused on one dream: education. 6 years passed, and finally, a chance arrived in the form of a scholarship exam. Obialor scraped together his savings, applied, and passed with flying colors, earning a partial scholarship to study industrial chemistry at the State University. However, the scholarship only covered tuition, leaving him to fend for his living expenses. Undaunted, Obialor devised a plan. He would go to class from Monday to Thursday and leave for the city each Thursday evening, spending the weekend doing menial jobs. On Fridays and Saturdays, he labored in the city markets, carrying heavy sacks for traders and assisting at construction sites where he mixed cement, hauled bricks, and did any odd job he could find. He earned just enough to buy food for the week and cover his transport back to campus. His Sundays were spent preparing for the week's classes, often late into the night. Despite the physical exhaustion and meager income, he managed to keep up with his studies, maintaining top grades. He attempted to drop out of school on several occasions but relentlessly kept pushing. Obialor's resilience didn't go unnoticed. During his third year, a lecturer pulled him aside after class. "Obialor, I see potential in you," he said. "You're one of the brightest students I've taught. Whatever it takes, don't give up." That encouragement became a source of strength for Obialor, propelling him forward even when the weight of hardship threatened to overwhelm him. After years of dedication, he graduated with honors. During his NYSC service, Obialor met Carol, a fellow corps member raised and educated in the United States. Despite their different backgrounds, they connected instantly. Carol was captivated by his story, inspired by his resilience and strength. She got her feet swept off the ground by Obialor's intelligence and his ability to make every difficulty look so simple by making a wonderful suggestion to proffering solution to any problem. After their service, Obialor proposed to her, took her to his mother Mama Nkechi, who was so happy and accepted beautiful and intelligent Carol. She later returned to the US, determined to help Obialor, now her fiancé, finds a better future. Not long after, Carol heard of a new European beer company setting up operations in West Africa. She reached out to the director of operations, advocating for Obialor as the perfect candidate for their head of distribution in the West African subregion. The interview was held in Abuja, their African headquarters. Obialor's performance was as if he already had many years of experience. When he got the call offering him the position, Obialor's life transformed. He went from struggling to make ends meet to a role that allowed him to support his family and look forward to a stable future. But back in Abuja Ajobi, his elder sister was not pleased. She was used to being the center of their mother's world, but now, Mama Nkechi was drawn to Carol, the woman she saw as her new daughter. Carol called her mother-in-law frequently, sharing ideas, asking advice, and bonding over their love for Obialor. Their conversations became longer and more personal, with Mama Nkechi even seeking Carol's wisdom for decisions she once reserved for Ajobi. For Ajobi, the change was unbearable. She grew resentful of Carol, seeing her as a rival for their mother's affection and a threat to her own place in the family. Ajobi's jealousy took hold. She tried to manipulate their mother, spreading rumors and lies to turn her against Carol. "Mama, imagine Obialor choosing a stranger over his own people," she would say. "How do you know she doesn't have hidden motives?" Her words planted seeds of doubt, twisting Mama Nkechi's once warm feelings toward Carol. Even as Carol sent gifts and supported Obialor's family from afar, Ajobi sought to paint her as selfish and controlling. Saying Carol was just pretending to be good when she, Ajobi, already knew she would still show her true color after wedding. When Obialor decided to give his family less frequent handouts to focus on long-term support, Ajobi blamed Carol, convincing their mother that Carol was manipulating him. She spread lies, saying Carol was preventing him from caring for his own family. Mama Nkechi, torn between her children, grew cold toward her daughter-in-law. Ajobi went on to manipulate other siblings to hating Carol, who was supposed to be seen as a blessing to the family that had never had a breath of good life before. Carol was hated for no reason. Obialor and Carol wedded in Abuja. The wedding was talk of the town to some of the kinsmen and women who graced the ceremony from Abuja. Many came from around the world, including US and UK. A day after the wedding, Ajobi, with her jealousy, conspired with her two younger siblings, trying everything to instigate fights, but Carol in her wisdom avoided them, sticking to her husband closely, following him wherever he goes, to avoid staying alone with Obialor's family in his apartment. Obialor's younger sister, Agodi, after she finished eating, piled up all the dishes waiting for Carol to return and wash them. After all, she is a new wife, she should be the one to serve them. Agodi was an undergraduate who felt her brother Obialor was rich. She kept coming for money each time. Together with Ajobi, Agodi was also secretly extorting money from Carol in the past. When Obialor found that she was always lying to obtain money from him, he restricted the way he gave her money. Ajobi came after Carol, then saying she is supposed to persuade her husband to be giving Agodi money without complaint. After all, the family was there for him during his school days. Maybe Carol's inability to convince her fiancé to continue lavishing money on Agodi then might be one of her sins against them. Carol already had the knowledge of their resentment but didn't know how to inform her husband, who was still attached to his family. She never wanted to be a problem that would tear his husband's family apart, so she kept her cool and followed them carefully. Carol's instinct already dictated resentment when she noticed that her mother-in-law suddenly went cold on her even before the wedding. The usually constant and long phone calls between them gradually diminished, till her mother-in-law stopped picking her calls no matter how many times she called. She kept on complaining to Obialor about the sudden change she noticed from his mother, but Obialor was not getting it, judging by how his mom loved his wife initially. Despite all she had noticed, Carol after the wedding still brought out her luggage and shared them all the foreign stuff she bought them from the States. She also gave them money and new phones. They were all happy. And after then, Obialor noticed some kind of attitude of his siblings towards his new wife. He told them to go back to East despite their plan of staying a bit longer for at least 2 weeks. He insisted they leave, and they left Obialor's house after 2 days back to the East. Ajobi was married to a man from a different community, but they lived in the western part of the country, and she gave birth to a boy and a girl before her husband's demise. But none of these kids stayed with her because she didn't want restrictions and disturbances from children. She wanted to be free and do what she likes. Her in-laws kept her at arm's length because of her bad attitude. Everyone from Ndiagbo village tries to avoid her because she is troublesome. She teaches in a local primary school in the neighborhood, but her character isn't worthy of emulation by the pupils she was teaching. In one of the scenarios, she unleashed school children in her class to make jest of and pour dirt on a man because he came to inquire why his child was flogged mercilessly by Ajobi. But in all this, her mother Mama Nkechi kept supporting her blindly, not knowing all she was doing behind. Ajobi would secretly take away her mother's ATM, withdraw money, and give her numerous men friends, claiming it was bank charges because she knew her mother isn't conversant with modern electronic banking. She would lie that she had gone to lay complaints in the bank. This made Mama Nkechi to be bankrupt always, running to Obialor and other siblings for money. Ajobi instigated their mother to hating their first daughter, Ifedici too, because she doesn't want anybody to take her place in their mother's heart. All this started because Mama Nkechi was pampering her after the death of her husband as a very young widow, so she took the advantage to exhibit her evil character. So her resentment towards her brother's newly married wife Carol didn't come as a surprise to Obialor. Carol stayed just about 3 weeks and went back to the States to continue her master's degree program she left because of the wedding. She still did not stop loving her husband's family. She always tasked her hubby to continue helping his family, saying her own family needs almost nothing from him as they are living comfortably in the US. The reason she married someone from Nigeria was because her parents, especially her dad, believes in tribe sustenance and cultural adaptation of Igbo race. Then most importantly, she fell in love with him, Obialor, because he is the kind of man she had wished for herself. A man who always stands up for what is right irrespective of who is involved. Even as she lived in the US, she had been mingling with other men from a rich background, but chose to build her own empire with the one she loves and respects so much. Carol continued to shower her husband's family with kindness, sending them money and gifts from the States. At times she orders foodstuff from online vendors in Nigeria and webbills them to her mother-in-law even without her husband's knowledge. Yet Ajobi, the embittered soul, couldn't stop her resentment on her brother's wife. Ajobi was a young widow whose husband died after a few years of marriage many years ago, but instead of being remarried chose to come back home to her father's house and be interfering with her siblings' marriages, misleading their mother to fight her sons and daughters-in-laws for no tangible reason, oftentimes acting like a witch that has bewitched their mother. Then came the New Yam Festival. Carol, eager to connect with Obialor's culture, flew back from the US to celebrate with him and his family. She hoped that immersing herself in their traditions might mend whatever misunderstandings had formed. But Ajobi, seeing her opportunity, accused Carol of failing to greet her with respect. The confrontation grew heated, with Ajobi hurling accusations, blaming Carol for distancing Obialor from the family. In a final blow, Ajobi even tried to provoke Obialor, hoping he might side with her and chastise his wife. But Obialor saw through his sister's ploy. He knew the sacrifices Carol had made, the love she had shown his family, and the support she had given him throughout his journey. The worst was that, Her mother-in-law, not minding the love and kindness she had gotten from her daughter-in-law Carol, continued behaving as if she didn't see anything wrong with what Ajobi, the embittered soul, was doing. On that fateful rainy morning, Obialor called a meeting to settling the differences between his wife and his family. But in the presence of few relatives and uncles, Ajobi started making her usual troubles, and this got Obialor provoked that he scolded Ajobi, her elder sister, for the very first time. As if she already planned attacking Carol, she pounced on her. Her action didn't go well with Obialor. He grabbed Ajobi and pushed her away. This led to their mother, Mama Nkechi, falling and rolling on the floor, shouting that Obialor gathered people to witness how he wants to beat up she and Ajobi. This grew goose pimple on Obialor's skin, giving him shock of his life, because in his wildest dream, he could not imagine his mother's reaction, just because Carol isn't her biological child, rather a daughter-in-law. Yet none of her daughters had ever done what Carol had done to the family within her few years of marriage into the family. In his mind, he wished her people's eyes would be open to know that Carol was the architect of Obialor's good job, but Carol, knowing the mentality of most African homes, told his husband not to inform them. Because the next thing Ajobi would say is that she bought Obialor over with the job. That was why the both couple maintained tactfulness on that aspect. Heartbroken and humiliated, Carol left that night, taking the earliest flight back to the US. She blocked contact with everyone but her husband, retreating from the family she once embraced as her own. Alone in the city, Obialor faced an impossible decision. The job that Carol had helped him secure was a lifeline, but his heart lay with her, the woman who had changed his life. Weighing his choices, he issued an ultimatum. Until his family reconciled with Carol and acknowledged her importance, they were not to contact him. Weeks turned into months. Without Obialor's support, the family's financial situation began to unravel. Villagers began whispering, condemning Ajobi's jealousy and the family's ingratitude. It became clear that they had driven away the very person who had uplifted them. Ajobi and their mother, once secure in their bitterness, now realized the weight of their actions as they felt the sting of community judgment and the loss of both Obialor and Carol. Obialor, meanwhile, continued his work, carrying a heavy heart and a silent hope that his family might make amends. He longed for the day they would see Carol's worth and welcome her back with open arms. And though the path ahead was uncertain, he knew he had made the right choice, for he had chosen love, respect, and the loyalty of a woman who had lifted him from the depths of hardship into a life filled with hope.